And let me just start this off by saying that it really wasn't easy trying to find animation stories that's been going on, or even just movie news in general, what's going on in the entertainment industry. Because so far, what's going on in that department, things have been rather calm, honestly. People have been focusing a lot more outside of what's going on in the entertainment industry this week. There have been a few events that have been going on. Some examples would include that we have had International Women's Day, which gave all the girls, ladies, and women from all around the world enough motivation to go out and fight for equal rights and also for equal pay, especially during these dark times of fascism. There was also Ben Carson, who somehow is really stupid to the point that he doesn't know what would be the big difference between immigrants and slaves during the pre-colonial period. And also, we have gotten a glimpse of what will be Trump care, where apparently it's an idea that is so stupid and so freaking convoluted, and the way that Paul Ryan just makes himself look like a total moron trying to present it the best that he can, basically saying that only the rich can afford it, where it's so bad that even smarter Republicans are looking at it going, yeah, you know what? Obamacare doesn't seem that bad after all. I mean, sure, it's very flawed, but at the very least, now that we got something to compare to, at least it's not frickin' Trump care. Nah, but yeah, basically, the whole Trump care thing is one of the millions of examples of how the Trump administration is just filled with nothing but racist idiots. I swear to God, it's just absolutely really dumb. But the point is with what I'm saying is that this was a week that people have been focusing on the news that's going on in the real world. Now, in the animation world, however, there really isn't necessarily a lot. Like, even some of the things I would talk about in here are more animation-related news than it really is directly animation news. But there is one in particular that really stood out in terms of animation news, and that is what is going on with DreamWorks. And it actually is really interesting, because last week, DreamWorks made the huge announcement that they would go and celebrate the fact that they have announced a brand new project that they are going to make, which is Trolls 2, coming out in 2020. But while they did that announcement, they also tried to do something that they hoped to sweep under the rug, but then news broke out and things have gone pretty crazy with it. Like, there's no official word coming out of DreamWorks Animation about it, but yeah, now we officially know. And it's going to be about a project called Larrikins. And what's going on with Larrikins? Well, apparently nothing, because it's officially canceled. The project is dead. Now, the first time that the news broke out is actually through Tim Minchin, who is supposed to be doing his directorial debut. And for those of you who don't know, Tim Minchin is actually both a composer and a comedian. And he has already done some composing works for Broadway shows, including Matilda and Groundhog's Day. And he was supposed to do this big project along with Chris Miller. No, not Phil Lord's buddy, but the Chris Miller who directed Shrek the Third and Puss in Boots. But then, on his website, he revealed that he was going to throw a little party where he would just play some ballads and just get drunk, because a little part of his message actually stated, I've recently been, yes, okay, it's right here. I'm using my source through Cartoon Brew, so it stated right here, I've recently been working in 3 different continents, missing my kids a lot, sleeping too little, and not playing piano enough. And then, a couple of days ago, the animated film of which I've dedicated the last 4 years of my life was shut down by new studio execs. Now, the big thing is that we don't know the specifics onto why Larrikins shut down. The most that we've gotten so far was that apparently In terms of the creative aspect, things are not necessarily going as well as the new bosses down at NBC Universal are kind of like, they're not necessarily pleased with it, so they ultimately decided to shut down the project. Now, for those of you who don't know what the Larrikins project is specifically, like what is Larrikins in its core? Now, returning into my source here on Cartoon Brew, it stated the story. Here it is. All right. Larrikins was a musical comedy set in the Australian outback and told the story of a desert-dwelling Bilby who leaves his home under a rock to go on a road trip with a music band. And that's basically the whole idea. It's an Australian outback musical, and it would have featured a lot of different Australian animals just singing and dancing. And even the cast that they have already gotten is actually pretty interesting, to be very honest. They actually got a big recognizable cast of Australian actors, which some of these would include Naomi Watts, there's Margot Robbie, and Hugh Jackman. So this could have been an interesting crossover to see Wolverine and Harley Quinn together just as Australian animals just singing and dancing. However, the project ultimately just didn't work out as well. And honestly, I really do not blame Tim Minchin to feel really bad about it, because like he just went out and decided, screw it, I'm going to throw a party and just go and drown my sorrows while playing the piano in front of an audience. Like, I really don't blame him, considering that he was, you know, like he stated in his message that he spent 4 years working on this project just to ultimately get it shelved. And that is, you know, that's rather unfortunate, but a part of it is mostly because that's kind of how the business works. It does happen when you would seem like it would be so close to completion, but then suddenly it's all over. Like, it's pretty much removed, it's all done, and it's just taken away. So I definitely do sympathize Tim Minchin, and especially the fact that this would have been his, like I stated before, his directorial debut as, you know, someone to enter into the movie scene where he can legitimately be a movie director working on an animated feature, which would lead him to probably a bigger career path. But no, this, what ended up happening is it just broke down. It just canceled. And he has nothing to prove that he worked on a feature film, which is rather unfortunate for the guy. I understand that. But honestly, we should have seen the signs that this could have happened, honestly. The fact that we haven't heard a lot of news from Larrikins, that should have been an indicator right there that something is not going right with the production. Something isn't necessarily going as well as probably of what DreamWorks wanted because of this massive silence that we've gotten. Because one key factor that I would like to mention is that the original release date that they have scheduled was February 16th, 2018. As I'm recording this, that's like less than a year from now. At this point, we could have at least gotten something. I don't think that like we would have gotten probably a teaser trailer. It's probably a little too early for that. I mean, for God's sakes, even right now, we don't even have a teaser trailer for freaking Captain Underpants, and that thing is coming out in June. But not necessarily a teaser trailer, but something that would be more like a press announcement that DreamWorks would go to the media, like some kind of source like Entertainment Weekly or USA Today or something like that, and they would announce that they are doing this project called Larrikins, along with showing some concept art for it. You know, just something that DreamWorks can officially say that they are working on Larrikins. Not like mention it with a list of other movies, just say Larrikins, you know, just to promote that movie to get the early hype on it. Now, we didn't really get any of that, and it is true the factor that before the announcement of the cancellation, we've received no concept art. There was no such thing as concept art released publicly online about Larrikins whatsoever. The only ones that we have gotten, like the first time that we've seen any sort of images of the Larrikins, is just a few days after the project was announced that it was canceled. Peter DeSev, who is known to be the character designer of the Ice Age movies, he actually worked early on when Larrikins was brand new at DreamWorks Animation, and he actually just posted on Twitter a few images of the Larrikins project, where we see a crow, a frog, just a few heads of an eagle, seeing his facial expressions, and also like this weird, ugly looking crane. I'm not saying that like it's drawn badly or anything like that. It's just like, I think like he did it on purpose to make the crane look a bit ugly or something like that. But yeah, like that's the most that we have ever gotten in terms of concept art. And that's pretty much it. Like, this is just showing us a few ideas of what some of the characters look like. We don't even know if these are like any of the main characters or anything like that. And, you know, it really does suck in a way, because this could have been a pretty decent, interesting idea, where you do get this movie entirely set in the Australian outback, and like it would bring back DreamWorks Animation to do more musicals back. Like it would bring them back to their roots in the very beginnings, when they would do movies like The Prince of Egypt or The Road to El Dorado, because DreamWorks Animation did have a pretty good knack in making musicals, especially with those two films. Those were really a lot of fun, and they do offer great songs as well. And this could have been a great chance for them to actually get back on their feet with it. I mean, I can understand that some people can argue that technically they did that with Trolls, but that's more of a jukebox musical. The only new song that we have gotten is just Can't Stop the Feeling. But what I mean is more something that could be like an entire like original musical, and especially like an original movie, which is something that DreamWorks at this point, they would probably really need, especially when right now, like they can't really get a brand new franchise going on, with the exception of just Trolls 2, which they decided to get mostly for marketing purposes and really to make another Trolls movie. But other than that, it is a little bit worrisome, and it could have been a great idea, but yeah, it's rather unfortunate that they had to lose like an original idea that could have a lot of potential. But I will say right now that the one thing that really does worry me about the fact that they decided to get rid of Larrikins is the fact that right now, DreamWorks has absolutely nothing scheduled for 2018. Because the thing is right now is that they got two movies going on for 2017 with The Boss Baby and Captain Underpants, and the ones afterwards are going to be jumping ahead to 2019 with How to Train Your Dragon 3, with Everest, and also Trolls 2. And that's pretty much it. 2018 has absolutely nothing. Beforehand, they had two projects going on with Larrikins and The Croods 2, but both of them ended up being completely canceled. They decided to take them out both. So now 2018 is completely empty, which the last time that DreamWorks did not release an animated feature in 1 year was way back in their very beginnings in 1999. And that's it. And it is a little bit worrisome mentioning this, considering that when you do look back, I mean, for the longest time, DreamWorks Animation has been releasing like 2 to 3 animated features annually, and even nowadays, they got to cut it down to just 2 to just 1 animated feature annually. And now the factor that there's going to be 1 year in which they're going to release absolutely nothing, it is a bit worrisome. And maybe it's a little bit of paranoia speaking, but I am worried that this would lead to my ultimate fear that I had since Comcast bought DreamWorks, would be that like the entirety of DreamWorks Animation would just be diminished, and Comcast is only going to be using DreamWorks just for property purposes, to show off Shrek and How to Train Your Dragon and Kung Fu Panda just at their theme parks or merchandising and stuff like that. You know, that's pretty much it that they want to do with it. And that's a bit, you know, and honestly, I'm a bit worried about that, you know? Like, if it does lead to that, then it would definitely be sad that they would end up taking what was at one point one of the biggest animation studios in the industry and just reducing it down to just a property machine. I mean, of course, there are other factors that are keeping DreamWorks Animation alive, like the television production, and especially with the massive success that they got with Troll Hunters. But I don't know, it's just a part of me is a little bit worried. But then again, like, as I stated before, last week they did announce that they are going to do Trolls 2 for 2020. So maybe having a break entirety at DreamWorks Animation for 1 year may not be so bad per se, but it is a little bit worrisome that DreamWorks Animation is not going to be what they used to be. Like, because at this point right now, they're kind of a bit of a shell of what they used to be. Because at one point, DreamWorks was way up there against Disney and Pixar in terms of really of distributing animated features. But nowadays, they're kind of like going back down a little bit, where some studios like Illumination are in a higher position than them, and now DreamWorks is pretty much laying low with some of the other second-rate animation studios like Blue Sky or Sony Animation and stuff like that. And it really is a bit disappointing, unless DreamWorks would find a way to at least release one animated feature for 2018, like maybe move back How to Train Your Dragon 3 to 2018, try to pull off like an Incredibles 2 and just give it to us sooner than expected. That would actually be kind of exciting, considering that they also have a Shrek 5 going on, and maybe they can put that in 2019 just to fill that gap. But who knows? It is a little bit concerning right now with what's going on in DreamWorks' position. And like in the article in Cartoon Brew stated, we're not 100% sure of what's going to be going on with the crew who have been working on this movie, Larrikins. We don't know what's going to be going on with them. We don't know if either they're just going to move to another project or if they're going to get another series of layoffs, because lately Comcast have been doing a lot of layoffs for DreamWorks Animation to really shorten it, because they don't necessarily need as much people working on DreamWorks Animation now that they are an association of NBC Universal. I really don't know, but I definitely am hoping for the best for both DreamWorks Animation and for the artists who have worked on Larrikins. And who knows what could happen in the future. Maybe, like, what Peter DeSev started, we'll probably see a little bit more coming out of DreamWorks Animation. Maybe some animators are going to post some animation tests or just a little piece of work that they have done onto Vimeo, because that's kind of what happened with The Croods 2, is that when that project ended up being canceled, there were a few animators who actually did posted some unused animation for The Croods 2 onto Vimeo, and they are pretty interesting to check out when you see the recognizable characters of The Croods along with who could have been new ones, you know? So maybe we could see a little bit more of Larrikins now that it's canceled, but that'll be all up to the animators, the artists, and especially DreamWorks Animation if they will allow it, you know? Like, if they think it's going to be okay to post some canceled projects online, but who knows? But yeah, the entire story is that sadly Larrikins is now canceled, and so far, well, let's just see if DreamWorks is even going to do anything for 2018. Hey guys, this is Animat. I just want to remind you guys that this is just a little taste of what you can get with the Animation Podcast. This is not all of it. If you guys want to go and listen to the full episodes of the Animation Podcast, then allow me to show you some of the different ways that you can go.
First off, you can actually go on the website that it is hosted on, Filmbook, so you can go directly onto there. You can also go and check out the official Filmbook Podcast YouTube page, so at least you don't have to go away from YouTube and you can listen to the podcast right there. But if you would like to listen on the go, like if you want to listen it to on your phone or on your iPad and all that kind of stuff, then you can listen to it on either iTunes or you can listen to it on Android. So those are all the different options, and if you'd like to have more info, then all you have to do is just check in the description down below. And with all that said, I just want to say thank you guys so much for listening, and until next time, see you later, dudes!